Hi, everybody. It's me again, Karen Holton, with another one of my podcasts. Before I get started today, I want to tell you that two things. The first thing is I want to thank you. I want to thank you for liking my videos, subscribing to my YouTube, and possibly even following me on Odyssey. That's my backup channel. And thank you for also listening to some of my podcasts on the Forbidden Knowledge News Network. And I just want you to know I appreciate it so much. I'm really excited. I'm almost up to 1,000 subscribers, and I've worked very hard for the last couple of years. And I'm very, very happy with the results, and I'm very grateful to each and every one of you. I guess, first of all, for just listening to what I have to say. Seeing some of the shows that I produce, and also for sharing this information with your friends. I really appreciate it. The other thing I want to say is I don't want you to believe everything I say. Now, in my reality, it may be absolutely true, but it may not be true for you in your reality. The other thing too is, rather than believe everything I say, I'd rather if you went out and did your own research, find out what works for you, what doesn't, what grains of truth are here and there. We all have a different perspective. So it's not like I'm right and you're wrong or the other way around. It all depends on where we're coming from, what vantage point we're coming from, what perspective. It's influenced by what we've been exposed to throughout our life as far as belief systems go. And so even though my information is absolutely true from my perspective, I think it's probably a good idea for you to do your own research. And there's lots and lots of information out there. And don't just listen to me, listen to other people too. So today I want to talk about an interesting subject. I have had visions. I've always had visions. So as I mentioned in my last podcast, what I do is I kind of save them up. And then something will happen, a trigger of sorts. It'll either be something somebody else says on another show, or I will realize that enough information about the topic is out there that now is probably a good time to add my 2 cents worth. So although these are absolutely my true visions, it doesn't mean that necessarily they will come true. And it doesn't mean that you should just believe everything that Karen says. Again, do your own research. So what I believe my visions are timelines. They're potential timelines for the future. Some come true, some don't. I don't even know how it works. All I know is that I've been given a gift. And I know from my higher self and from my spiritual guides that I'm meant to share this gift. And so here it is, another one of my visions. And it's about giants. Now, whether you believe in giants or not, doesn't matter to me. There is so much evidence out there that giants have walked this earth, and perhaps even more than once or twice, and perhaps more than 1 or 2 different kinds. Examples that you can find online while you're doing your research are, there are mountains and there are massive structures that appear very much like giants that were frozen and turned to rock in an instant. There is evidence that dragons were real and they were massive. When I talk about giants from my vision, I'm talking about clearly giants, not 8 or 10 foot people. I'm talking like 30-foot people, even taller. And they once roamed this earth and they went away. Now, the funny thing about this is around, I don't know, shortly after 2012, especially up to about 2013, I did a lot of research on Nibiru. It's not so much that it's something from my culture or something that's talked about. It's not. I just had an overwhelming urge to do as much research as I could about Nibiru. And strangely, there was all kinds of evidence that there were other planets that were, or I don't know, stellar cores, or I don't even know what they are. I'm not a scientist. I'm a social worker. But anyway, I was compelled to do this research, and I was watching all this stuff, and there was tons of evidence. There was even just recently on Mr. MBB333, he was showing a clip that someone sent to him that showed this massive planet or whatever, some kind of spherical object that is probably many times larger than the Earth. And it was sort of had a core that was ejected into the sun, and it looked like it was drawing energy from the sun. So we've had tons of evidence that this is something that's happening. Then if we continue our research and we research stuff like Zachariah Stitchin and different people, and I'm not saying I believe 100% anybody, I just take pieces that resonate with me, but this is not part of my vision. This is just giving you the evidence and where you can go looking if you want to. So he and many others have claimed that there's a group of beings that are called the Anunnaki that are coming back to Earth, because they come back every so often and check out what's going on, although I'm sure they have the technology to know what's going on without physically coming here, but it seems to be an orbital path, and that seems to be where they live. And apparently it's coming back. Well, then I didn't hear anything for a number of years about it. Pretty much most people have dropped the whole, it used to be scores of channels on different platforms that were all talking about it. You don't hear too much. Only a few of the dedicated from years and years are still out there and still have that information. So I mentioned that. I also mentioned that there are these mountains. Some of them were trees that were chopped down, and the stumps literally form mountains. So we've seen tons and tons of evidence. Then if you want to get into the monolithic stones and the temples, and I'm talking about the real old stuff, where either they had a method of softening the rock and putting it into position and then hardening it again, or whether they had some kind of frequency elevating technology that allowed them to move these rocks and stones. And they are amazing, and they're all over the earth. They're not just found in one country or territory. Now, these megalithic stones, let me see, Matthew LaCroix, check out his videos if you want to learn more about ancient civilizations, which also might not be so ancient, but that's another story. And but these formed huge, we call them temples, but they might not. They might be actually technologies. We don't know for sure. But we do know that they're amazing, and there's nothing we have in our technology that even comes close to being able to make these in present time. So we're talking very, very old. The seams between these huge, massive cut stones is so tiny, you can't even slide a credit card in between them. So somebody had to lift these stones and move these stones, and we don't really know who or why. And then there's tons of information, although it's always being taken and hidden by, I believe, the Smithsonian Institute, of actual skeletal remains of giants. Some of them are only 13 or 14 feet high, but some of them are over 30 feet high. So there's evidence everywhere, but you kind of got to go looking for it, okay? So here is my vision. Basically, my vision was the return of the giants, and it will be in our time. And it will be, if we're not prepared, extremely frightening, because we can't even imagine being like ants or rodents to these other beings. They're not just physically so much bigger than us, but they're also technologically and spiritually much more advanced than us. And this is from the vision. And they return. And it's just such a shock that it throws the whole world into complete chaos and mayhem. Another part of the vision is they were repairing the megalithic stone sites that we see around the earth, but they were also building new ones. So they were using some kind of technology to drop these enormous stones. How big are these stones? Well, I don't know. I'm just guessing. Maybe like the Eiffel Tower, maybe like the Empire State Building, like huge, really big. Okay. And they were dropping. And every time they dropped, the whole ground shook just like an earthquake. And they were dropped in a specific pattern to form what appeared to me to be like a giant coliseum, a place where we then were called in to bear witness to what these giants want and what these giants expect from us. And, like you could ask me, is it a good thing or a bad thing, Karen? I don't know. I have some mixed feelings about it, to be honest with you. Traditionally, giants eat people, although a lot of people are pretty much poisoned by the pharmaceutical industry today and by bad food and bad water and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know if they'd even really want to eat us, but I don't think they're coming all this way for a snack. I really don't. So all I really know from my vision at this point, what I remember, if I remember more, I'll make more videos, is that the giants are coming. They are a real thing and they are coming. Now, the reason I'm not completely freaked out in fear is because I have experiences with intergalactic beings. And you can watch some of my other podcasts if you want to learn more about my experiences. And what I found out there is that the universe runs, at least this universe, and there's probably many universes, and I do believe in the many worlds idea. But in this universe that we experience, at least our 3D physicality, or what we perceive as our 3D physicality in this world, our solar system, which is part of a star cluster, which is part of the galaxy, which is part of something immensely huge that I have trouble even wrapping my mind around. But it's all run on the love harmonic. Now, I don't mean Valentine's Day, mushy love, sexual love, gushy love. I don't mean anything like that. I mean love. And love, the reason it's the harmonic of this universe is because it works. It creates a harmony. So think of love as being like an umbrella. And underneath that umbrella, there are things like patience, because to exercise patience is a part of love. Exercising self-control. Self-love is self-control. Loving other people means using self-control. Faith. Faith is a really important component of love. And there's quite a few other components that, again, if you want to learn more about this, you can watch some of my other podcasts. But it creates a harmony. It creates a harm-none environment. And so the thing is that, can you imagine if things were the way they were on portrayed on Star Trek and different science fiction shows where everybody's at war with everybody, and then you ramp that up to amazing and higher technologies, and you just take that out and everyone's just shooting at everybody and destroying everything, and it wouldn't work. It would infect other quadrants of this galaxy. It would infect other beings. It would have such a huge effect on everything. And then from a spiritual perspective, we don't just have the 3D reality. We have 4, 5, 6, 7, and on it goes. And everything that we do affects all those other so-called layers, if you will, of spiritual reality. And everything that happens there also affects us. So what's happened, the way I'm sort of piecing this together, is yes, there were giants. There was probably different even groups of giants that lived here before. Some even fairly recently have been discovered, but they would be, like maybe the 12-foot kind rather than the 30-foot kind. And they set things up and then they left. And what happened is some of the humans who either knew secrets provided by the giants or were perhaps in close association with them, I'm not sure, but they decided to use what they know in order to create kind of a 2-tier, even 3-tier society. So of course, they became the elites with the sacred knowledge, the arcane knowledge that we have to really go digging for us, the common people. And they've sanitized the matrix or the construct that we live in so that those things are not spoken about, not acknowledged, and certainly not utilized. So it concentrates the power into the hands of a very few. Now, over time, there's been a lot of interbreeding, or I should say inbreeding. And these guys have basically been insane for many generations. And you can tell by the way they treat each other and by the way they treat us. And with all that's going on today, you think they're treating us bad. Can you imagine being one of them, not knowing if your father's going to kill you or your mother's going to kill you or your cousin's going to kill you? It's extremely competitive. There is no empathy. There's no creativity. There's no ability to see a different way of doing things because they've bred that right out of them. And so they've turned a lot of their nastiness towards us, the common people. And we're certainly seeing that today. But I believe the giants are coming back, and I have seen it in vision. And I'm not shown a vision without a good reason. Some of them sound completely ridiculous. I wouldn't blame you for a minute if you didn't believe me, or if you even laughed out loud at some of the things I say. But nonetheless, this is my truth. So the giants are coming back, and the giants are going to put back a state of order. And I'll tell you why, is because now that some of the people of Earth have done some backroom meetings with other ET races and other things that have happened, also magic, dark magic, all kinds of things that are, I know we don't speak about this much because it's like too weird. Who would even want to believe it? But these things have been going on to the point now humans are going out into space and they're taking that infection with them. So now we've got the religious factions, we've got the government agencies, we've got the Silicon Valley and big tech, we've got the military industrial complex, we've got this medical, this bogus allopathic medical complex. It's all tied in together. And what's happening is there's a separation. They're doing some nasty stuff on this earth, a lot of nasty stuff on this earth. But when we find out, that's our opportunity to wake up, do some research, and find out how to improve ourselves to become more excellent human beings so that we will fit into that love harmonic. Now, when the giants or even other races of ET come to Earth, and they are coming, they are going to put an end to the bullshit. And the reason why is because, as I said, they can't afford to have this infection spread all over the place. They wouldn't be coming and shutting down nukes if they weren't concerned about our effect on the ecology of the galaxy, solar system, the universe, etc. So what I want you all to keep in mind is work on yourselves, because one thing that the beings from other planets and possibly from Nibiru, what they are able to do is to work very telepathically. You can't bullshit them. It's obvious to them what we're about, and they can tell by our frequency. And they will know which people honestly want to get on with the love harmonic and those who don't. And those who do want to get on with the love harmonic, we're also the people who can have compassion, empathize. We can love, we can forgive, we can show mercy. We are creative, we are innovative, we're amazing. The fact that we're still here is amazing, just amazing. So I want you to go out there and do some more research. I know this wasn't a very long vision because what happens is I often only remember parts and then other things happen and I'm triggered and I'm able to make more podcasts because then I know more information. And like I said before, please do go out and do your own research. So prepare yourselves, learn as much as you can about giants. There is tons and tons of information. Learn everything you can about the very most ancient megalithic sites on this planet. Do some research as to the components of our Earth. If you come to see it from a different lens, it looks quite different. Where there was a lot going on this planet at one time, giants, giant animals, giant dragons, the trees, everything was huge. It was a completely different environment. And this planet would actually be a bit too small for the giants. So I'm guessing they came here as, to perhaps work on us, because we ourselves are genetic experiments, not just from one or two different off-world races, but a whole bunch of them. And I think also that now is the harvest time. So what's happening is our true nature is coming to the fore. And when you put us under pressure, we become more beautiful, and our true selves are exposed even more than they were before. And so we can certainly see that happening today. So the best way to prepare for the return of the giants is to become a more excellent human being. Do your best. You don't have to be perfect. Nobody has to be perfect. In fact, it's amazing we do as well as we do with what we've got to work with. But do your best. That's all I ask. And don't be afraid, and do more research. Find out about all the alternative histories. There's so many. And I don't think one is right and one is wrong. I think if we had the full picture, we could see how they very uniquely fit together. So that's about it for today. And again, thank you everybody so much for watching my videos and for sharing my content with other people. It means so much to me. That's about it. Just much light and love, and I'll be back. Oh, forgot to mention, if you haven't done so already, check out my interview show where I'm the host. It's called the Quantum Guide Show, and it's meant ideally for people who are either newly awakened or those who have been awakened for some time, but they're isolated by their belief system. And it's to offer support and all kinds of information, and all of it is at a fairly digestible level. So please do check out my podcast, The Quantum Guide Show. It's also now featured on the Forbidden Knowledge News Network, which is www.forbiddenknowledge.news.